On this week's show, longtime college basketball coach Jamie Small. Jamie, when did you develop the passion for basketball? How old were you?
I started playing when I was 9, and it was mainly because I didn't like playing hockey anymore. I didn't like the ice, so I liked being
too
cold.
cold?
Way too cold. Way too cold. I did not like it. So basketball, my parents said you had to play something. So basketball was, I wasn't even sure what it was, but I knew it was something different. I got into it my first year. I loved it right away. I embraced it right away. My next year was a little better. It was a little more organized in Moncton, and they had division of age groups. So at that time, I got to stand out a little more because I'd played the older guys the year before. So yeah, I got a little love that way, and I liked the attention, I guess, of being kind of the leader on the team, and it just kind of fell in from there. Became a point guard, and the game just fell into place. Yeah.
Practice and that creativity, where do you think that developed in your game? Did you shoot around in the local park? Was there a local park? Who did you play against during the off season?
It was always my buddies around Moncton, guys around Moncton, year or two older, always. Tried to make it that way, as competitive as it could be. We always played at Louisville Park, or we'd play from Louisville Park, playing other parks around the city, bike to wherever we had to go to play. But most of my passion was developed in junior high school at Forest Glen with Bob Bowser, who was a big part of who I became as a player and who I am as a coach, and what I believe as a coach, and what I buy into for a team to be successful.
What made Bob so instrumental? What aspects of his coaching philosophy made really a difference? He
really laid out to me what being a team player was all about. And I understood that from the moment he said to me, I was starting in grade 8 with him, and he said, you're going to be the point guard, you're going to lead the team on the floor, you're going to be my eyes and ears on the floor. And I took that literal. I took that as, it's my job to make sure everybody's incorporated in the offense, and people are getting their opportunities and getting the looks and doing the right things. And that was huge. He showed me, he would give us little letters every couple of weeks to let us know where we're standing and where we're at with the team, and things he's happy about and things he's not so happy about. And I still have those. I still have those at home collected. And yeah, it was really, he was really huge in that whole cycle.
So how critical is having a coach at that level, Jamie, being an effective communicator?
It's vital. You have to learn the game yourself, and someone has to show you what the game is like to understand. You know, it doesn't matter what sport you're playing, you need that person to communicate. What is it like to be on a team? What roles are on a team? What can you fill in on a team? Maybe I'm not the best player. Well, what can I be? I can be the 6th man on the team, the 7th man on the team, and I can come off the bench and I can give a spark in that role. And he really presented to me the first time that I saw those roles, and then he would use NBA players to try to associate that with, and I could see what those players did. And I actually looked up to Isaiah Thomas with the Detroit Pistons when I was growing up. He was big, and of course Larry Bird, Boston Celtics.
Well, those two players. Nowadays, the game of basketball, and this coming from a hockey guy, the game of basketball is all isolation. You know, Thomas and Bird shared the wealth. It was all about team ball back then. Sure, give me the ball, I'll score, yeah. But they really worked the offense.
They sure did, and moving the ball is something that can't say enough about, and sharing the wealth, like you said, it's a big deal because you need to stretch the defense, you need to move defenses, and people, they need to learn that at a young age, why, the merits of doing these things. Why is that extra pass so important? Why is hitting that third guy on a pass instead of just stopping at the top and shooting that shot the right one? Well, because there's an extra second, and there's an extra second that defense has to react, and to learn those things, it takes time, and it takes time to see the game and learn the game. And when you're on the floor, it's a different perspective than when you're on the sideline, completely different. And that was a transition that was fun to make for me.
Well, you talk about the transition, Jamie, transition from middle school and having success there into Moncton High and you know, a program that you eventually coached as well. How rewarding and how What did it mean to you personally to play high school ball?
High school ball was a big honor. I really looked forward to things like the Hoop Classic and playing against Trimble and taking the floor against them. And then later on, coaching for Moncton High was a different experience altogether. I didn't think that would ever happen. I thought that was when I started coaching House League 24 years ago. I thought this was, okay, if this is all I ever coach, this is great. I'm having a great time. I love these kids, and I loved everything about it. They were animated and excited, and I could be myself and just really enjoy the game and have fun with the game as it was.
A lot of athletes go through a transitional phase when they transition out of the game,
Yeah.
and they move away from the game. You know, you played a little bit of university college ball type thing.
Very little, yes.
Was there a love-hate relationship with the game for a time being in your life?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I'd stepped away from it for, I'd say 2 years, which to me was a lot of time when I was 18 and 19, and made some bad decisions at 18 and 19, but eventually turned myself around. Coaching was a big part of that. Failed out of university, had to find something to, kind of went through a dark period, a little bit of a depression, and was coming out of that. My parents said, why don't you go try coaching? Basketball's always been there. I thought, well, all right, I'll give it a try. And turns out it was exactly what led me to teaching and my whole career and everything afterwards. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about your journey into teaching and coaching and giving back to the game. What was it like for you, first, coaching a high school team and being that guy on the sideline? What did it mean to you?
It's awesome. It's awesome. What a feeling that was to be in my first game. We were in our first game, and I'm going to get into stories, so you're going to have to get over that. But we were in our first game, and I had thrown up before the game. I was so nervous. It was JV, and everyone else, it was just a JV game. So to me, it was a high school game. I was coaching the Trojans, which was an awkward position for me at the time, having graduated from Moncton High, but. Coaching the Trojans and very nervous, and playing Matthew Martin in a game I'm not sure we should have won, but we did, and it felt good after the game. I was very proud. The whole year I was just delighted to be part of that program. The whole 3 years I was there, it was awesome. Yeah, it was a great experience.
How difficult, Jamie, is it being the coach, being the motivator, being the psychologist, being all those kids, especially at the 9-10 level, what they need to develop and to grow as players?
For me, it wasn't that hard. It became very natural to just be a big brother and be, how to not be a jerk in the world and lead them in that way. And maybe I didn't impress all the other coaches in the league with my approach to some things, and maybe I rubbed people the wrong way, but those gentlemen today still contact with me and see how I'm doing and see how my affairs are going outside of basketball with my health and those kinds of things. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned your health. Jamie, everything seemed to be going in the right direction in the education world, the teaching business, the coaching. Everything seemed to be going in one great direction.
Yeah.
When did you find out that you had cystic fibrosis?
It was probably around, the definitive answer was 2008, but we had known a little bit. We had a few indications from around 2003 on, but never a solid, well, this is definitely what you have, because cystic fibrosis affects so many children at a young age, and it's in the lungs. And I have a very rare strand of it in my DNA that attacks basically the stomach, the digestive system, pancreas, and the liver. So I have chronic pancreatitis that I live with daily. So struggling is something I'm quite accustomed to and used to. And I think what people don't know is how hard it is to walk in another man's shoes. And that's easy to say, and no one understands that. But when you're in that position and people are standing from afar and they're criticizing whether my shirt's tucked in or not on the sideline, I don't have time for that. I'm worried about what's going on with my guys, and worried about their opinions more so than impressing someone standing watching the game off the side.
So when you talk about that, it's the perception of other people.
Yeah.
How difficult has that been for you to battle outside of the game and then to bring your A game to the floor, to the coaching world?
It motivates me. It pushes me that much more. Say I can't do something and I'm going to find a way, one way or another. Just talking now, it gets me riled up thinking about it. I want to put my best foot forward at all times. I want to do it for my guys, for my players, for the girls, whoever I'm coaching at that time, who I'm trying to lead, and show them that even though life's going to throw some serious shots at you, you can still push through. You're going to find a way through. I mean, there's been a lot of struggle. There's been a lot of things, you know, outside of my CF. I had a marriage fall apart. I had some other private issues went on, but all the same, I'm still pushing through and trying to find a way to make sure everything's in a positive direction at all times.
Hold on to that positive, that vibe.
Sure.
We'll be right back with Jamie on more Sports Inclusive. Welcome back to Sports Inclusive. Jamie Small. Jamie, right before the break, talking about your health issues, and then, you know, how you've tried to use that to motivate not only yourself but your players. How long have you been coaching at the college level? The college level, I've been a part of different programs since about '99. I think, if my math is right. So 20 years I've been a part of in and out at Crandall, and I was at Mount A for a little bit, for a spell, and then back to Crandall again, and then there now. Yeah. What's the difference between the middle school, the high school, and then the college? How big is that jump, that separation? It gets bigger as you go, and I don't think people understand that as the pool's going to get shallower and shallower as you go up, and there's less and less teams to play for, and less jobs to find to play somewhere. So it is a struggle. It is hard for them to grasp that, you know, am I good enough to play this level? No, but you're good enough to play here. This is a place to play. I don't want that. Okay, and that's really where the disconnect comes from. If you want a place to play, there's a place, but it might not be what you think it's going to be or what you want it to be, but it's a place. We talked earlier about motivating players at the high school level. What does it take to motivate a college kid going through school, the stress of everyday life? How do you get that motivation, and what's the message at the college level? Wow. I guess it's sum up to embrace the grind and expect what's going to come. We have a downtime, but it's in between 2 semesters, and then you start back up again. There is, you know, December is pretty much off for us for exams, for holidays. Guys go home, come back. We start again in January right away. And so that is the hardest part, is just the grind of the year that school does wear you down. Playing games every weekend gets tiring, and practice every night gets tiring. I guess the biggest message too is expect to have to adapt to your teammates, because you spend a ton of time with those guys. 2 hours every day practice, 6 days a week, and then when season starts, you're 4 days a week probably for sure, and then in games on the weekend, traveling on the bus, and all that goes wrong with the bus and all that stuff. Yeah. Now, coaching at the small college level. Yeah. What are your dreams and aspirations? Do you see personally, I know it's a team game, but where do you see yourself going in the game from a coaching level, and do you like coaching at Crandall? I love coaching at Crandall. I love what I do. I'm an assistant coach to Jonathan Spirits, and he's a great coach. He's a great motivator, great leader. For me, I like the different roles I seem to get every year. I seem to be dealt, what needs to be done, and I'm willing to do it or try and give my best effort. This year, I'm learning to be a video coach,
and trying to grasp what all of that's going to entail, video editing and the details that goes incorporated with that. How am I going to get that ready for each week? What stats are important to us, figuring that stuff out. So I'm having fun with all that, a lot of numbers, a lot of facts-based stuff. I like that I don't have to prepare for practice quite as much, so it makes life a little easier. But yeah, I like what I do. I like what I'm doing, and I think I'd like to continue doing that, but I'm not sure where it'll go from here. I just go play it by ear pretty much.
What's the best prototypical aspect that you want to see in a basketball player?
Oh, I like to see them be able to do a little bit of everything, and I don't care how tall or short they are. I like them to know a little bit about every position, how to play guard, how to play forward, how to play post, how to play center, how to play all those different positions. Jack of all trades, master of none is the player I like to work with, and then we'll polish up the details as we go along. Yeah, that's the player I'm looking for.
Smartest player you've ever coached?
Smartest player I've ever coached. That's a trick question. There's a few of them, and Scott Black would be one of them. Dan Maxwell, that I currently coach, is another one. Very smart player. Santeri Winwicks from Baltimore. I coached Kelly Vass, another smart player. I had a privilege of coaching the women's team one year that we were at one point ranked 3rd in Canada, and they were a very smart team, I'll put that, and most of them were probably smarter than I am, so I was a little intimidated at times, but I stood my ground and handled it just fine.
If you were to go back to the grassroots, what would you teach in the game of basketball to a 5-year-old just getting into the game, grassroots level? What do you teach that player?
Right hand, left hand dribbling, just how to use both your hands and be ambidextrous and be open. Like, just let them have a feel for the game, let them know it's fun, let them know it is a game, because I think that gets lost very quickly at the higher levels, that we are playing a game. This is supposed to be fun, and if you're not having fun, maybe it's not what you should be doing. If you're finding this is just too much on your life, it feels like a job. As soon as it feels like a job, that's not fun anymore. Yeah.
Where do you see the game going? Jamie, you've been part of the game for 2 decades or longer.
Yes.
3 decades if you count playing, obviously. Yeah. Where do you see the game going, and what trends that really bother you in the game of basketball?
Oh, wow. The game's going. I like watching the women's game a lot more. I like the WNBA. That's probably not, I'm probably one of the few fans that do, but I appreciate that it's a slower down game and you get to see the tic-tac-toes and the X's and O's more than you do in the men's game. Not that you don't in the men's game. It's a very fast-paced, very different kind of, both games being more athletic than they've ever been. And it's not about the big man so much anymore as it used to be. It is more about the athletic man, and that's what I like watching about the game, is that you don't have to be 7'2" to be dominant anymore. You can be 6'4" or 6'2", which is still way taller than I'll ever be, but those guys can dominate the game. They can take over the game, and that's what excites me, is that it's more an athletic game than it's ever been.
Fondest memory as a player and as a coach?
As a player, we won a provincial championship one year quite handily when I was in Bantam. I made a team that I was probably not quite good enough to make, but I did. I worked hard to be an alternative on that team and an extra player, so to speak. And there happened to be an injury I got to fill in, and I got to be a part of a provincial championship, so that was pretty good. And then as a coach, going to the national championships for the CCAA. We got to go to Squamish, British Columbia, and that was quite an honor. Yeah. Yeah.
Looking at a player and having team systems, where's the creativity, really come in to play? You're running a play, but where's the creativity? And as a coach, do you enhance that? Do you influence and really motivate the player to have their creativity, or do you want them to run the play?
I like them to be creative. I like them to have their own mind and read what's going on the floor and see what's going on the floor. My goal is at the end of their career, when they're done playing for me, I hope I've instilled them that they want to give back to the game, and hopefully there'll be coaches that can use that knowledge of seeing the floor and ability to read the floor to be able to handle things appropriately and do the right things when the time comes to give back to the game. That's my hope, is that I can encourage them to be community-minded individuals.
What's the the most fundamental aspect that a player should know? What's option one in any, offensive set, and fundamentally?
Catch and square up. Look to shoot. Look for yourself first. It's about you first every single time. It's if you're not on offense, that ball's coming to you first. That's coming to you. You got to look to score a little bit, but you got to stay within the team. And I think that's a hard concept to grasp sometimes. Even up at the university level, there's guys that still struggle with that goal.
Now you've coached players that want to take that next step to the pro game.
Mm-hmm.
How big of a difference, and how much room is there from small college to the pro ranks here in the Maritimes and potentially across Canada?
You talk about a guy who has a half-second step speed. That half step is absolutely enormous at the pro level, to our level. And it's once again another shallowing of the pool. And it's a huge one. That's a big one. That's, I don't know what the numbers would be, but they are astronomical as to who can play pro and what guys can play pro and what they have to do to get there. That's trying to show them that they have to put in the work themselves, and it's not just going to come through practice. It's not just going to come through what going in every day and putting in the work with the team. It has to come in their individual time if they want to make that jump. Is very difficult to understand too.
How difficult is it for you on a daily basis to get yourself to the gym?
It's a grind. Every day I wake up and I probably have an hour or so before I feel well enough that I can even do much around the house, never mind going to a gym for any length of time. By that time I start to kind of try to stretch myself out, limber up a little bit. My muscles do get there's quite a bit of pressure that builds up from the pancreas on back to my back. So it feels like there's a board kind of pushing through, trying to get through my spine. So I try to stretch that out, get all that out as best I can. There's a lot of bile build up there usually. So the mornings are not always a pleasant treat, but it takes me about an hour or 2 hours, to get going in a day. And by the time I'm feeling good, it takes probably lunchtime. And then hopefully by the end by 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, I'm feeling good enough that I can still go to practice. Yeah.
How many hospital stays have you had since the diagnosis?
Since 2008, I couldn't tell you how many times I've been in the hospital. I know I took the average of days, and it's about 2 months a year that I've been in there. But luckily, it's been a year since my last trip, so I'm hoping that stays at bay and things continue going the way they are, and the health stays on a positive upward swing as it has been lately. So, yeah, I could use that relief for a little while. Yeah.
How difficult is it living with that pain every day, chronically?
It's tough, but you adjust. I don't want to say you get used to it, because it is, if you want to say how high on a scale of 10, it's an 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 pain every time. But you wake up every day with it. And you just, all I can do is be an example to people around me that this is what you can do, even though you have illness, even though you are down in the mouth. And even on days I don't feel good, I might go to the gym and just sit on the sideline and just be there, because it's my happy place. It's where I want to be. It's there at the Miramichi or with my son, and he kind of takes the show most of the time.
Coping with that pain.
Mm-hmm.
How have you done it for so long?
Well, a lot of different medications, a laundry list, long as my arm, of medications. Had some rough times with some of the medications, coming off them, getting on them. Hasn't been so brilliant, but things right now, I have to say, are going as best as they possibly can. I'm in the best shape I've been in a long time, as far as my, maybe not physically my appearance, but as far as I'm feeling, and overall, things are going great, and I can't complain about that right now.
Last question.
Sure.
What do you want your legacy to be as a coach when you walk out of the gym and when you leave a gym and someone says, "That's Jamie Small"? What do you want them to remember?
Great guy. That's what I hope they remember. If I can get anything across, great guy. And if not, I tried. That's all I can say.
He is a great guy, folks. I can attest to that. Thanks so much, Jamie, for sharing your journey.
Thank you, Craig.